Hello, 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 and welcome to the PvA Nightly Rundown. I'm your host, Luke Croft, and things are a little different around here today. We normally do our gaming podcast, me, Larry, and Cody, PvA Radio, every Wednesday, 9:30. But tonight, sorry, I've got all kinds of stuff in my pockets, and I just can't deal. Um, but tonight, some scheduling conflicts meant that Cody and Larry both were not going to be able to make it. So instead, you've got me bringing you the nightly rundown where we go through all of the gaming news that has happened over the last 24 hours so that you don't look like a freaking idiot at the water cooler tomorrow when somebody's like, GameStop, their business model, man, is great. They're doing wonderful. You can say, In fact, an analyst said it was, quote, burning to the ground. Burning to the ground. Strong words. Strong words. I actually used to be a manager at a GameStop, but we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But for now, I'm cracking open this nice, delicious green apple bubbly. Taking a nice little sip of it. I hope everybody is doing fantastic tonight. This is the PvA Nightly Rundown, going over all of that news. And also just interacting with the chat. It's a lot different than PvA Radio, where we interact with the chat if we're on topic, but we try not to stray too far away from what we're talking about. Whereas tonight, PvA Nightly Rundown, totally beholden to what anybody who comes around wants to talk about. Last night, or if you're watching over on youtube.com/PVA Radio, you just missed the conversation about amiibos and butt plugs and the rankings of them. So if you want to get in on those kinds of conversations, catch us live every weeknight at 9 p.m. over on twitch.tv/PVA Radio. But yeah, so we actually have quite a bit of news today to cover, a lot of ground to cover. So we're getting into E3, right? And it's always been that announcements kind of stopped and slowed down a little bit ahead of E3, but now everybody's trying to get out in front of it, right? And so we've got we have THQ Nordic. Tomorrow we've got Google Stadia. Today we had a Pokemon Direct. Tomorrow we're also getting details about Destiny 2. We just got details about Call of Duty, and all of these places that don't really have a home at E3 anymore because Sony's not doing stuff are trying to find other places to go, right? Especially Destiny, Call of Duty. Those are two games who had marketing deals with Sony. Well, now Sony doesn't have a stage presence. You got to figure out how you want to push out that information, right? So, I'll make sure everything is good to go here. Things are acting a little wonky. But yeah, everybody's just trying to figure out where they want to go, how they want to get their time in the sun, and so a lot of ground to cover. But before we do that, a little bit of housekeeping. Tomorrow, it was going to be a special episode of PVA Radio. It's still going to be a very special episode, but it will be the officially episode 43 of PVA Radio. But we're doing that with two of the guys from Popped Off from Project Esports. With Andrew and Dylan, we're going to be doing our E3 predictions. Each of us will have 5 predictions that we're bringing to the table. They cannot be based off of any rumors. They can be as outlandish as we would like. And we're going to set them out for you guys to check out, listen to, and give your feedback on. So make sure you're here. That's going to be tomorrow. I think we're doing that at 9:30. It's either 9 or 9:30. I think it's 9:30. I think I set the calendar of it for 9. I'm sorry, guys. It's been I feel like I've been just kind of going nonstop. Nonstop. Today was a weird day, long day. Don't really want to get into why it was a weird day at work. It was a little bit of a kerfluffle, and but we made it. We made it. I'm thinking about maybe playing some League too after some League of Legends after we finish with the show tonight. So yeah, stick around after that, and I'll be playing something. I don't know. It's either going to be League or Overwatch. League wasn't wanting to run on my computer while OBS was open last night, so maybe it'll be Overwatch. So, yeah, that's all the housekeeping though. Let's move on to what is releasing today. We went over this yesterday because we Let me turn my computer on Do Not Disturb. One moment, please. There we go. We went over these yesterday because I always go over the Wednesday releases on Tuesday since we're not doing the show. But I'll go over them again. Only 4 of them. As Divine Dia is coming out on Xbox One and PC. Just Sleep, Meditate, Focus, and Relax is coming out on PC. Cardlings is coming out on PC and Mac, and then Void Run is coming out on PC, which is interesting because we got Void Bastard, so we got 2 Void games this week releasing. All right, let's hop into it, guys. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 items on the list today. So a lot to talk about here, and items with sub items as well. There's only one place we can naturally start. That's with Pokemon. I'm doing this mostly because I know people like Pokemon. I am not a huge Pokemon fan. I watched the Pokemon cartoons growing up, but I've tried playing one game, couldn't get into it. I played quite a bit of Pokemon Go. My wife was really into Pokemon Go. She liked going around, to all the different places. For her, it was just an opportunity for us to hang out, I think. So, and do something fun together. But this is Gita Jackson's write-up over on Kotaku. Everybody's got a write-up for this thing now. But there's a little 16-minute Pokemon Direct that was hosted early this morning. 8:30 this morning or something like that. It was a little insane how early it was. Maybe it was 9:30, but I'm not going to read this to you. I'm gonna just kind of high level hit the things. So they revealed several different things about this game. It's going to take place in the Galar region, which is based on the UK. And if you watch the trailer that was shown, it very, very much looks like Britain, and it's really cool. But this will be the first Pokemon game where you'll be able to control your camera as well. It's not going to be a fixed camera. It's going to have more of that more modern open world RPG feel to it, and that alone to me is kind of exciting, right? I think that's pretty cool. So they're adding in they showed off a bunch of new Pokemon, and one of them was Wooloo, which I was like, it's just a sheep with braids. Here we go. We'll pull it up. Wooloo. Look at this. Images. Wooloo. He's just a sheep. He's just a sheep with braids. It's also crazy how quickly art goes up on DeviantArt after this stuff's announced. This picture's 7 hours old. But look at all this fan art for Wooloo. People are loving it, man. But it's just a sheep. I don't know a lot about Pokemon, and I guess it's really hard to just regularly design 150, 150 new Pokemon every time you're going to release one of these games. But legit, this is just a sheep. But here's a good picture that you can tell, got that classic windmill looking like the UK, the rolling meadows. So the design, the setting looks cool. The third person stuff looks really cool. The Pokemon to me just didn't. I think I saw one where it was a bunch of the different ones that were revealed today. Yeah. So, and I'm not even going to begin to try to tell you what these guys' names are, but here's Pollen Ball, here's Shiny Crow, here's Spiky Turtle, here's Allergy Season, here's and these are your 2 legendaries. I do have names for those. Hold on, I've got them written down over here in the notes. Zacian and Zamazenta. And so real on the nose, right? Sword. He's got a sword in his mouth, and shield. His head is a shield. I think the character design for the shield one's cooler than this fox that just seems to have a sword stuck in the clench of his jaws. But yeah, so these are all the Pokemon that they revealed in the trailer today. What else did they talk about? They're going to add co-op raids to the game, so you'll be able to play either locally or online with friends, and you can get up to 4 of you together to take on these Dynamax Pokemon, and Dynamax is actually going to be a mechanic in the game where you'll be able to make your Pokemon huge for 3 turns in order to like do special attacks, deal more damage, take more damage, um, but there's going to be raids where you fight Dynamax Pokemon who are Dynamax for the entire fight. So you've got to work together to uh, try to weaken this Pokemon so that you can capture them. But the trailer's funny, and we don't watch trailers like a lot of Twitch streamers do. It's because we push it out on YouTube, and I don't want to get a copyright strike, and especially with a game like Pokemon, it's almost guaranteed, right? So, but they pick these Pokeballs up that look like giant beach balls and just like throw them over their head in order to catch these weakened Dynamax Pokemon. But again, I don't want to speak too much about Pokemon because I don't know enough, but I have been like reading reactions from people and listening to people who I know are Pokemon fans talking about this, and I think for the most part, like people are pretty cool with like the free camera, and I don't even think they have much to say about either positive or negative about the Pokemon that have been revealed. I think people are a little concerned that the big new feature of this game is the Dynamax, and it really is just like now your Pokemon is bigger and more powerful, and for 3 turns, and how like I don't know, it looks really strange. It looks strange to me, even not as a Pokemon fan, of like in the stadium, and you've got these two like you got your Pichu next to you who's like real small, and then all of a sudden he's like his head's hitting the ceiling of the stadium. Like it looked really weird to me as well. And I can see why fans of the series would look at that and say, I don't really know. I don't really know. So they also revealed the release date, which is probably the biggest piece of news coming out of it. Everybody kind of knew this was going to probably be a November release. They did confirm that it's coming out on November 15th. You can pre-order a double pack where you get both Sword and Shield, and you can pre-order just the regular games as well. So yeah, more details about Pokemon Sword and Shield. Also, if you're wanting to keep up with what we're talking about on the show, you can type in !show notes if you're in the chat, or you can click on the show notes link in the description below this video if you're watching on YouTube. All right. GameStop is burning to the ground, at least according to an industry insider. This is from Gamer Rant, written up by Dalton Cooper. It says, GameStop was once a prominent retail giant in the gaming industry, but it seems those days are behind it. As video gaming continues to march to an all-digital future and less consumers purchase pre-owned physical games, GameStop has struggled with its stock dropping to its lowest point since 2003, so in the last 16 years. GameStop stock dropped to 36% and is currently sitting at $4.90 a share at the time of this writing. This drop is reportedly the biggest one-day loss in GameStop's history. Mike Hickey, an analyst for Benchmark Co., has described GameStop's current financial situation as the business burning to the ground. Analysts are unconvinced that GameStop will be able to bounce back from its financial woes, and so the writing may be on the wall for the company. GameStop has certainly had a rough go about it in recent years, to the point that it was nearly sold off back in February, and it reported a staggering $673 million loss. So they've tried a few different things, right? And some of them are listed in this article. They want to make it into a cultural experience. They've talked about wanting to kind of pave ground and to make inroads for like amateur esports taking place in some of their facilities. They've partnered and actually made an esports facility in Texas, or breaking ground on an esports facility in Texas. But they've also are test marketing raising the price of its pro membership. And I wanted to click on this because I found this really interesting, because I think I can provide some insight about like how we were trained to sell the pro membership. So the pro membership, when I worked there, it was you got 10% off all used games. You got 10% added onto all of your trades. You got your year subscription to Game Informer. You got like double points on every single one of your purchases, and a couple other, like you got exclusive coupons and deals. And you would get a coupon upon signing up for like a buy two get one free that would be emailed to you after like 3 days or something like that. So, But essentially, they are raising the price of the pro membership from $14.99 to $19.99. The 10% discount on used games is also going to be discontinued. And instead, the company is going to give consumers a $5 reward certificate every single month. Um, However, the certificate will also expire every month, meaning customers will have to stop by. Um, so there's a potential savings of, uh, like $60 across the year, right? $5, 12 months, but you have to come back, right? So I find this decision really strange, that they are getting rid of this 10% discount on used games because, at least in these test markets, so the way GameStop works is, generally speaking, like just a general rule of thumb, this isn't all the time, but a general rule of thumb is that a used game is going to be priced 10% cheaper than it is new. So a 59.99 game is going to be discounted to 53.99, and then that price for a pro member will be discounted 10% below that. Um, but from my perspective, coming in as a consumer, right, and seeing like, okay, this game on the shelf is it's 60 new, it's 54 used, and it's like, um, why would I do that? To save $6, why would I buy the game used if I can just buy it new? The thing that always kept me buying used games was the fact that I was a pro member, and it would not just save me $6; it would save me $12, right? Close to $12. Um, that adds up, and now we're saying not only are we removing the 10% discount from you, but we're not even going to make up the difference on one new game or one used game, right? Because I imagine the $5 reward certificate every month is going to be $5 off any used item in the store, not $5 off any item in the store. Because they still want to move their used stock out, and you don't want to incentivize people to use that reward certificate on a new game because the margins for GameStop on a new game sale super super thin. You know, whereas you trade in, you know, Call of Duty Modern Warfare a week after it comes out, you're going to get $30. Then they'll turn around and sell it for 55. They're making $25 off of that sale. Whereas buying Roy Speedrun, what's up? Welcome, welcome. We're just talking about how GameStop is burning to the ground. I hope you had a wonderful day, um, and an even better, more relaxing evening. So, um, but yeah, so they're not even making up the ground, and so there was a lot of incentive when you bought the card, right? To make a big purchase the day that you buy your card. This is the way we were trained to sell it, right? Or at least I don't know if we were trained. It's at least the way I would try to sell it. So somebody would trade in some games, right? Work hard, play hard, baby. That's right, Roy Speedrun. So so this is the way it would work, right? When somebody would come in, let's say they brought in a few games, they were going to get $35 in trade. Well, let's make the math clean. They're going to get $30 in extra trade credit, right? They've got a $54.99 used game they're wanting to use that trade credit on. And so I'm like, okay, if you sign up for a pro membership here, you're going to get $3 added onto your trade, and you're going to get $6 off of this game. That's $9 netted. So you're really only paying $6 for this membership. And they'd be like, oh man, that's a really great deal. It gets even easier when you get somebody who comes in and is like, all right, I want to buy a used PS4 and I'm going to get these 3 games that come with this PS4. And you can say, well, this card is essentially free at that point because you take 10% off all the games that you're buying, added up, equals the $15. That was a huge selling point. I sold probably half of my pro memberships when I worked there, just kind of doing the math for the customer. Now that they're getting rid of at least a portion of that, and the bigger portion of that being, the 10% off used games, I think it becomes a lot harder to sell. And not only are you taking that away from the person who's buying it, but I mean, from the person who's paying for that membership, but then you're increasing the membership price by $5. It doesn't make sense. I haven't been a pro member now at GameStop for 2 years. I just don't buy used games. I've moved all digital at this point. But um, I don't know. This is the problem with GameStop, like at a high level. The problem with GameStop is they don't understand their own business model and what it is that they're trying and the value that they're delivering to people, right? People like to shit on GameStop because they're like, "Oh man, I take a few games in there and they only want to give me $8.50 for them." And it's like that's not GameStop's problem. That's not the problem with the model. The meme that's been generated from it may, be a part of the problem, but the trade value for their games isn't the problem because it makes no sense to expect that you're going to get anything more than $30 for a brand new game if you take it back in to trade it. It just you're paying for the convenience of being able to go in there and just sell it and you're not having to facilitate a deal with somebody in a parking lot. Yeah, can you make more than $30 on a brand new copy of Call of Duty Modern Warfare the day after it comes out? Absolutely. But you're going to have to create a Facebook Marketplace ad or a Craigslist ad and say, "Do you want to buy this game?" And you're going to have to go out and meet people in a parking lot. Um, never heard of your purchase. Never heard of your purchase loses half its value once it leaves the store. Yeah, man, it's like depreciation on a car. But and here's the other thing that people don't understand is like they're in those early days. Yes, it is highly valuable for GameStop to have a used copy of Modern Warfare on the shelf. But think about how many copies across all time. One of the classic examples of this was when I was working at GameStop. Halo 3. This was like 2016, right? Halo 3's trade-in value is like 50 cents, no joke. You're like, "Oh man, this is an all-time great game, and you're only gonna give me 50 fucking cents for this game, blah 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 blah." And it's like, well, yeah, because not only have you traded this in, I would open up the drawer and I would say, here's 15 Halo 3s, and I'd close the drawer. I'd say, and then I'd type in Halo 3, and I'd turn it around and I'd say, "We've got 65 of these in stock right now because Halo sold tens of millions of copies. We have tens of millions of copies that have been traded back to us, man." That's not the problem with the model. That isn't the problem with the model. The problem with the model as of recently is just that they have zero focus. When I worked at GameStop, it was right after the acquisition of ThinkGeek. We were selling like I remember Christmas time rolled around that year, and we got so much shit that it was just like, there's where are we gonna put this? We're getting like pop-up displays we're having to put together to put in the middle of the store. It's like there's nowhere to put this shit, and so it gets in the way of people who are coming and wanting to buy Funko Pops, people who are coming who are wanting to buy video games and accessories, like to have this like Skyrim bunt pan. You can make it look like a dragon or whatever. Like, it just gets in the way. We were selling Cricket phones and Cricket phone plans. I was expected to sell one cell phone plan a month. The average cell phone plan like transaction would take about an hour and a half. If somebody was like trying to port their number and purchase a phone, it took about an hour and a half to get it set up. That was an hour and a half of my time working at a game store selling a fucking cell phone. And Lord knows the margins that we were getting through Cricket were probably razor thin, razor thin. But we were expected to make that sale. The focus got just bifurcated, then trifurcated, and then just like it's all over the place. Sorry, let's get back to what Roy Speedrun said here. I mean, I'm honestly not offended by GameStop. The new sub thing is pretty silly, but for the most part, I just don't go there because I don't need to, not because I'm avoiding them. Yeah, I mean, look, there's obviously things that are changing in the marketplace, and they had some. I don't want to say. I'll say unique ideas. I don't know how good they were. I don't know how bad they were, but I think last summer they tried a deal where it was like, it's like I don't remember what they called it. It was like a platinum membership though, where you would pay $60, right? You would pay $60 for a year or something like that. Unlimited checkout of used games. And it worked like GameFly, right? You'd come in, you could get it, you could keep that game as long as you want, and when you bring it back, you can check out another used game, take it home with you, play it as much as you want. And then at the end of the year, you got you got to get a free used game. So you could come into the store, say my year's up, and then boom, walk away with, even if it was a game that came out yesterday, I've got a new copy on the shelf, take it home with you because it could be up to $60 in value. Um, so they've been trying some unique things to try to combat the digital age, but they haven't had a focus. They want to be a toy store, like Roy Speedrun says. They're basically a toy store now in the digital age. Um, they've wanted to be a collectible store. They've wanted to be a place where you can go to buy card packs. They wanted to be known as like a central hub for Funko Pops. Uh, they've tossed around words like boutique as well. But there's no focus from the leadership and no real understanding of why it isn't working at a grassroots level. And part of it is just the model, like the way that they train their employees to just hound you as soon as you walk through the door. I don't go to GameStop that often. We probably go once a month just because we like walking. We don't have much in my town, and we like walking through there, right? But the main reason that I don't like going in there is because as soon as I walk in there, as soon as I walk in, it's like, hey, is there anything I can help you find? Oh no, we're just browsing. Oh, well, just to let you know, Rage 2 comes out tonight. We're having a midnight release. You can still pre-order it and pick up a copy tonight. Come back at midnight, pick it up. And then if you're not interested in that, I don't know if you saw, but they just released the Pokemon Sword and Shield trailer, and we got those up for pre-orders now too. And if not, we're running this deal. Hey, have you checked out our digital ad yet? Are you a pro member? Do you want to get a year subscription to Game Informer? Like, that's my experience walking into GameStop now. You're just being sold to the second you walk in the door. I remember in my interview, they were like, one of the questions they asked me was, is there such a thing as too much customer service? And I said, yes. And they were like, what? And I was like, you have to, like, part of being a good salesman is reading the people that you're trying to sell to. And I am far more likely to spend money in your establishment if you just let me guide my own experience and ask questions if I have them. And then there are other people who come in and look, they want to chit chat with you. They want to know about all the new stuff that's coming out. But you can tell immediately upon walking in who those people are. But you get asked on average 4 or 5 questions when you're at the register trying to spend money. And all they want you to do is spend more money. It's just sleazy. And then the staff turnover is insane because they just know there's a bunch of idiots who are like, this is my dream job. Annoying your potential customers isn't a good business model. Ever heard of Jehovah's Witness? Yeah, I mean, it's true. I'm gonna spend a lot more money with you if you interact with me like I'm a human being and not like I'm a wallet with legs. And you just don't get that feeling when you're at GameStop, man. You just don't. Um, I'm trying to remember. We had a ridiculous greeting message, and I used to remember it by heart. But when people would call, we would have to give them the rundown of the 3, 4, 5 things that we were doing at the time. It was like, hey, thanks for calling GameStop, where you can pre-order the new Gears of War, and if you bring in games and trade them in towards Gears of War 4, you can get 20% extra on your trade-in, shit like that. And it's just, that's not how you do business anymore. It's just not. Half of the people that are coming into your store know what it is that they're in there for, and the other half are going to ask. And would I greet every customer? I'd say, hey, how's it going? Anything I can help you find? Oh, no, I'm just browsing. Fantastic. My favorite is when you come in, hey, is there anything I can help you with? No, I'm just browsing. Well, pre-order this, pre-order that. Look at this. Here's our ad. You walk away. And this has happened this probably happened 5 times. So, this is not a rare occasion. They'll come back while I'm just perusing with a fucking 3-sheet printed list of all the games available for pre-order and say, hey man, just thought you might be interested. Here's all the games that are available for pre-order right now. I'm like, I haven't pre-ordered a game in years. I'm trying. I think Destiny 1 was the last game that I pre-ordered. The very first Destiny 1 was the first. That was the last game I pre-ordered. I think. Now I'll like pre-purchase something a couple days ahead so I can just go ahead and download it on my console or whatever. But like, hey man, you could throw down $5 and secure your copy for this game right now, and it's like, you mean the game that you're gonna have like 150 extra copies of? So I'm not one of those people who roots for GameStop's demise. GameStop holds a special place in my heart because of when I was a kid and like how excited I would be getting GameStop gift cards going in. So like, and just the fact that there's a ton of people that work for this company. And if it goes under, then a ton of people are going to be impacted financially for it. So I'm not going to be one of those assholes that's like, fuck GameStop. If they close tomorrow, I'm not going to give a shit. Like, um, I'm not one of those guys. And if you're one of those people, like, fuck you. Because, okay, they don't give you the trade credit that you want on your, like, there's a million other options of things to do, places to buy your games. Like, don't root for the demise of a company. I'm not telling you got to spend your money there and keep it afloat or whatever. I don't. But it'll be sad when the GameStop starts shutting down. And that Sally's hair care products that's right next door can just creep in, take it over. All right, guys. I get passionate when I'm talking about GameStop. Next item on the list, Battlefield 5 released a trailer today that revealed a few new maps. This is from Nathan Birch over at WCCF Tech. Did you ask the GameStop employees what amiibo they recommend for a butt plug? Well, I mean, I think the key thing, right? So the key thing is organizing them on the shelf in order. Oh, dude. So I worked. So you can't go trade in Toys to Life shit anymore. You can't trade in like Disney Infinity characters or Skylanders or amiibos, anything like that anymore. But when I was working there, holy hell, you could. And I cannot tell you the number of kids that would walk in with just like a tote and be like, it was always the worst when it was Skylanders. Because like, you know, amiibos, I have a general idea of who everybody is. Disney Infinity, I've got a general idea of who everybody is. But these Skylanders, man, because they're all organized by name, like alphabetically by their name. The kids would bring in just these fucking totes of Skylanders and put them down and be like, how much trade credit can I get for this? And it'd be like literally, you know, 40, 50 Skylanders. I'm having to pull them out, go through the notebook, line them up with exactly who it is, and I would be like, do you know this guy's name? I don't know. I don't really know. And so I'd spend like an hour, you know, doing it, and then I'd be like, all right, and no joke, like, there are some of those things that'd be like 5 cents. So I'd be like, okay, for all this, we can give you $6.50. That's all for all of that. I don't want to do that. I remember when Skylanders came out, and I came to terms that one of my favorite childhood series was dead. Spyro, yeah. I was gonna say, is it Spyro? Yeah. I bought my wife Skylanders on, I think she played it on, it was either the Wii U or her DS. My phone is blowing up. What is going on, guys? Um oh my gosh. So it got to the point where if like some kid walked in with this big tote, I'd be like, now look, I can do this for you. I can do this for you, but you gotta know these things are only going to be worth like 25 cents a piece. All right. And now you can't trade them in. We had just like piles of them in the back. It was awful. Or we'd do it and we'd be like, these are only worth $6. And they're like, no, I don't want to do that. And then you start packing them back up and they'd be like, you can just keep them. We walked in one time as customers. This was before I worked there, and got like a shitload of free Skylanders figurines because the kid was like, didn't want to take the $3 he was going to get for him, but like didn't want to take him home still because like I guess his mom didn't want to show his ID or anything. All right, Battlefield 5. Yeah, so they revealed some new maps. Al Sundin is coming out in June. Then Merida is going to be a smaller map based in Greece coming out in July. Um, and then a few other maps as well. But the interesting thing about this was at the end of this trailer, they tease. Oh, yeah. So the whole game takes place on the European front right now, but they teased right here moving to the Pacific Theater, which is pretty dope. I love World War II games. I want to play Battlefield 5. It looks awesome. Um, so 5 new maps and then possibly moving to Japan. But that's not the biggest news story that came out of Battlefield 5 today. Oh no. Here was the biggest news story. Battlefield 5 developers accidentally named one of their Nazi characters after an anti-fascist who was actually killed in Germany. I'm actually going to read this. This is from ONS Good over at Polygon. I think this may have been originally reported on by Waypoint, but this kind of has it all together. The makers of Battlefield 5 will change the name of a German faction character offered for sale in the game's multiplayer after it was pointed out the name belongs to a real-life German who was part of the country's anti-Nazi resistance. The statement Electronic Arts gave, however, sheds curious light on how the publisher and developers view the two sides fighting it out in the World War II shooter. The character in question, quote, is not a Nazi, but a German soldier similar to ones we already have in the game, end quote. That was according to that statement. In other words, those fighting Allied forces in Battlefield 5 aren't Nazis, just Germans. And it probably makes a minor kerfluffle even worse as it comports, if unintentionally, with clean Wehrmacht line of revisionism that holds Germany's military was separate from the ruling Nazi party and not responsible for its atrocities. The controversy began earlier this morning with a story in Vice that noted Willem Frank, a masked, menacing German adversary who went on sale for $9.99 last week, was the name of a real Dresden resistance fighter who died in the Allied firebombing of that city. The Willem Frank of Battlefield 5, if not literally a Nazi, is at least reflective of their villainous presentation over the past 75 years. Yo, Bill for real, what's up? Or actually, just the PvA rundown tonight. No PvA radio tonight. Some scheduling conflicts popped up last minute, and I couldn't cobble together a show in the short amount of time that I had. So tomorrow will be our E3 predictions episode. So yeah. Anyway, this story has layers, right? Obviously, the Willem Frank thing had to have been a mistake. I don't know how much research Waypoint or Vice Gaming had to do to find this story about the real life Willem Frank. If it was just a simple Google search or if they had gotten tipped off to it, but so that story is like really doesn't move the needle for me. They're gonna fix the mistake. I think it's an honest mistake. What's more curious is there was a story written today, and this is more required reading than anything. Should have just had me fill in. I'll give those hot takes without filters. Gonna be talking about bringing having to bring Spyro back. Let's see. Oh, it's not Waypoint anymore. That's right. It's just Vice.gaming. Um. So this is the article. Again, we're not going to read this, but and I'll drop this in the chat because I think that it deserves a read. Um. So yeah, this is from Jordan Pearson. He brings up a lot of good points though. He's like, we're in this weird phase where, again, it's layered. EA has created a historical fiction, a, a work of historical fiction in gaming with Battlefield 5. With in a war that it's probably clearer than any war who the good guys are and who the bad guys are, right? Between the Allied powers and the Nazis. However, due to its historical fiction nature, there are certain like liberties that can be taken, right? But in today's current climate, where apparently real life Nazis are a thing, and I say apparently not that I don't believe that Nazis are a real thing, but like, how the fuck is it 2019 and we're still having to deal with this problem? But we're in this climate now where there are people who identify with the Nazi movement and perpetuate their beliefs and bigotry and atrocities. And that EA had to make the decision to say, we're not referring to these people as Nazis. If you play Battlefield 5, there's not a swastika in the game. And it's because they wanted to avoid that imagery. And I think it's because they, in this article does a really great job outlining this point as well, and I agree with his argument, that they remove this imagery and this language around it because the way that monetization in gaming works nowadays, especially these online games, is you gotta sell skins. You gotta make people look badass. And the weird thing about Battlefield is when you're in the multiplayer, you don't just fight for the allies. 50% of the time you're fighting on the other side. You're fighting in the German army. And so they want to call them German soldiers, not Nazis, because they don't want to say that they're making people fight for the Nazis. But again, that's revisionism. I didn't realize that there was a term for it, but I've certainly seen the whole idea of like, well, Germany as a whole can't be held responsible because it was really just the leading class, and even the people that were fighting for it, they're just following orders, right? Um, and so not only do they want to say, well, you're a German soldier, you're not a Nazi because you're going to have agency over those characters and you're going to be fighting in matches with the hopes of winning those matches. And they didn't want you to do that as a Nazi, but they also have to create skins, right? 50% of the time you're fighting as German soldiers in the game. They're monetizing skins. The reason that you buy skins is because they look awesome. And they run into this thing where it's like, well, now we gotta make Nazis look cool. We gotta make Nazis look cool enough that you want to part with $10 of your money. And it's just like, I don't know. I read this article right after work today, so I've only had a couple hours to wrap my head around it, and I don't know what the solution is. Because I think if you're going to make a work of historical fiction, you owe it to your audience, especially in something like Battlefield 5, to try to get it right. But I also understand that in today's climate, you got to monetize somehow. But how do you do that without making it seem like, oh man, it's the same problem I have with a lot of the marketing around Call of Duty, right? They talked about this actually on Waypoint Radio, about like Call of Duty has this team who's trying to tell a really pointed story about war and make a real pointed statement about war, but then they have a team who's like, our number one vision and our number one goal was to make you feel like a badass when you're firing that gun in the game. And it's like, we want to make a statement about war, but we want to make you feel fucking awesome about participating in it. Like, it's these conflicting things. Like, games have to be fun. They have to feel satisfying to play. But if you're gonna do that against the backdrop, like a backdrop like this, I think you have a bit of responsibility to try to stay true to it. And so, while the story about the name is interesting to me for its own merits, this conversation surrounding it is a lot more interesting to me because, again, I'm not sure what the solution is. I don't know. This would be a great topic for PvA Radio. I'd really be interested in hearing Larry and Cody's thoughts on this as well. And obviously, if you're hanging out in the chat, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Thoughts on it too. Like, how do you? It does seem complex. Like, I guess you could say like we have a system in place where you always use the allied avatars, and it's just the people that you're fighting against always appear as the Nazis. Anyone who wants to avoid content related to Nazis shouldn't be playing a game based on a war. On this war, I don't know where I stand on this. Should have just called them Nazis and owned it. I feel like, but then maybe they'd be attacked even heavier. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's so much about people being like, I don't want to play a game with Nazis in it, because people love fucking Wolfenstein too, and the whole Wolfenstein franchise, right? But the whole and he talks about this in the article too. I don't want you guys to go and read this and be like, he's just regurgitating what he's saying. But like, But Wolfenstein's approach was like, fuck Nazis, right? That was their whole marketing around the sequel to the game. It was fuck Nazis. And so, yeah, it's on a very clear side, you know? And you know, but Wolfenstein doesn't have multiplayer where, like, oh, you got to fight against the enemy, right? Um, so yeah, I don't think it's so much about not wanting to engage with a game with Nazis. I think it is just this like tension of half the time if I'm playing online, I am playing as a Nazi or a German soldier or whatever. And they're trying to encourage me to buy skins because it looks so because these Nazi soldiers look so cool, you know? Um yeah. Who knows? I mean, we're obviously not going to be able to talk about this on PvA radio for a while because E3 is coming around. There's going to be a lot of huge news popping, but I'd love to circle back around to this topic and talk to those guys. Maybe we'll talk about it in an after party lounge sooner rather than later. I just don't know why anyone would really be up in arms about a cool Nazi skin. I mean, don't buy it if you don't want it, right? Sometimes people dive too deep. Yeah, I think the I think the issue is that subconsciously, right? Subconsciously, if you're interacting with media that props up this thing, and especially when such strong symbolism like swastikas is tied to it, um, I don't know. I think there's something that can happen in your mind where you start to connect with it, right? Like, and I'm not talking about the ideology. I'm talking about the symbolism around it. Um, and then to profit uh, off of an ideology like that, it's not so much about the skin. It's about the leveraging of symbolism and leveraging of uh, the atrocities in you know kind of a roundabout way in order to make money off of it. Feels weird, man, with all those alt right dudes running around online actually wanting to be a badass Nazi. Yeah, the issue certainly is in the hands of the players than the devs. I agree with that. Yeah, but the devs have a responsibility, right? Like art is about interpretation, but I think as an artist, you place parameters around the interpretation in a lot of ways. And I get what EA was trying to do. EA's whole marketing up to Battlefield 5 was like really weird between like the controversy around there being a woman that was represented in a lot of the marketing and them doubling down and then them being like we're not going to put swastikas in the game despite it being in the backdrop of World War II and despite you know these German characters having kind of like a prevalent place in it. They've had their back against the wall and I think they've been trying to be responsible with the hand that they dealt themselves because they decided to make another World War II game. But um, I don't fault them for trying to be cautious within it, but I just think it begs more questions about monetization and what we should and shouldn't be trying to monetize. And not necessarily just trying to monetize, but all the stuff that trying to monetize it entails of like, hey, look at this badass Nazi. He's got a Phantom of the Opera mask on. Check this dude out. I mean, the skin is cool, like, but at the end of the day, he's a Nazi. So, all right, good discussion, guys. I feel a little bad because I'm not super clear on what I think about it because I don't really know what I think about it yet. I'm kind of thinking out loud. Do you need some more controversy in your life? THQ Nordic's next game is going to be this remake of SpongeBob SquarePants. Oh man, and then we'll hop back to the game before it. I just thought that'd be a lot funnier transition. This is from Colin Stevens over at IGN. It says SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom rehydrated, a quote fully faithful, a faithfully remade end quote version of the 2003 cult classic has officially been announced for modern systems. Revealed by the THQ Nordic Twitter account, Rehydrated is being developed by Purple Lamp Studios and is coming to PC, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. The post also confirmed that it is unfortunately not coming to E3 2019. heard about the SpongeBob prequel coming out, and it ruined my day. Is Nothing Sacred? Oh yeah, is that the cartoon that they're like going 10 years before like SpongeBob started? But like, did SpongeBob age at all in the show? He was always the same age in the show, like kind of like The Simpsons, you know? Camp Coral. Yeah, that's weird, dude. I won't lie. I had a SpongeBob bedspread when I was a kid. Oh, Beal, for real? You're in for the SpongeBob prequel? You in for it? I haven't seen anything about it. Maybe we'll watch it after what's going to get pushed to YouTube. Because I'm interested. But let's just talk for a second. Is there anyone weirder in gaming than THQ Nordic? No, not in for it. Too afraid. All right, we're gonna watch the trailer when we wrap it up for the YouTube people because I don't want to. I don't want to get a copyright strike. So, but we'll watch it over here on Twitch. Is there a trailer for it, or is it just an announcement for it? But yeah, THQ Nordic is weird as shit. They're like, hey guys, we've got 80 games. Oh, it's just greenlit. Okay. Um, we've got 80 games in active development right now. We're going to reveal 3 of them in the week leading up to E3. The first one's going to be a fucking remake of a 16-year-old SpongeBob SquarePants game that came out on the GameCube. It's crazy, man. THQ Nordic is wacky. Like, the gloves were off before when we saw that they had 80 unannounced games in active development. Now, like, the skin on top of the hands that was under the gloves is off because the first game they show is SpongeBob SquarePants. How is it a cult classic? Game was awful. Everything I've been reading online is that people love this game. So, I never played it, but... Oh, shit. Fight, fight, fight in the chat. Bill for real likes the game. Even when I was a kid and loved every game I played, I hated every SpongeBob game I ever played. Interesting. Never played this game. I just like THQ Nordic and their wacky approach to video games. Next item on the list. This story is bigger than yeah, scurvy. I'm gonna be totally honest with you, dude. Don't do that. Um, don't don't try to call my Discord or call anybody on my Discord server. Cool. All right. This story is actually probably bigger than the SpongeBob story, and that is that we have more PlayStation 5 details. Um, so got a few, just a couple new things, and I think this is going to kind of be their approach, where they just kind of drip some content out, and so it's going to support 4K graphics. It's going to have 120 hertz refresh rate, and that's going to give you better frame rates, and then games are going to be able to be saved between console generations, which is an interesting approach as well. So just a couple different details about the PS5 coming out here. I think the big one for me is the 120 hertz refresh rate. People that play on televisions, there's not a, correct me if I'm wrong here, because it's been a couple years since I bought a TV at this point, but there's still not a lot of televisions that are doing more than 60 hertz refresh rates, right? Or because like we bought a pretty nice 4K TV. It only does 60 hertz, but um, this will be cool for people who have high end gaming PCs, have really nice like 144 hertz monitors, be able to play Overwatch and competitive shooters at higher refresh rates. So yeah, it's cool. Like, this kind of news still doesn't really move the needle for me. The load time stuff in the previous announcement was really cool. I'm not going to care until we start getting some of the unique features and games that are going to be available on it. So yeah, more PS5 details are going to be slowly trickling out as well as we move forward. The fog is lifting. More big announcements tomorrow coming. Destiny 2 is going to have their reveal event for the next chapter of Destiny. It'll be tomorrow at 10 a.m. Interesting thing here is cross save, cross progression across PlayStation, PC, all the different platforms, which is something like a lot of people have asked for. Because there's people who are like, man, I built my whole entire raid team in Destiny 1 on PC or Xbox, depending on, what consoles you play, what console you played on. But now I really want to play on PC, but I don't have the raid squad there. So now you'll be able to, like, I'm gonna solo grind myself on PC and then hop over onto PlayStation in order to do the raid, get all the gear, and hop back over to PC. So I love that we're getting to this phase of gaming where the walls are being torn down, and finally we can play Dauntless with everybody. We're going to be able to play Call of Duty with everybody, and it's just gonna. This kind of stuff isn't going to even move the needle as far as newsworthiness. It's going to be more of like, can you fucking believe that Destiny 3 doesn't have cross save? Like, that's going to be the conversation that we're having. Because I think even a year ago, we were thinking this new norm is years and years out still. I think we even have an episode of PvA Radio, which hasn't even been around for a full year yet, where I was like, I still think we're like 3-4 years out from this being like a mainstay. But now you've got Call of Duty doing it. You've got, Fortnite, biggest game in the world, doing it. We're definitely moving into the era of gaming where it's just like you play on your box, but you play with whoever on whatever box they own as well. They don't even have to own a box; they can just play on Google Stadia and play with them. So, well, this and to be clear, this isn't cross play. This is just cross progression, cross saves, but we're moving in that direction. Let's see. All right, we're into kind of just the quick hitter stories here, and then we'll wrap it up and move on to whatever game we're gonna play tonight, which is either gonna be League of Legends or Overwatch. I haven't decided yet. We're just gonna be playing bot games in League of Legends if I'm gonna play League though. So don't get hyped for it if you're hoping to see me play some competitive League. This story comes from Tanner Pierce over on DualShockers. There was a job listing that just confirms that Treyarch is going to be working on the 2020 Call of Duty title. This was, not speculation, but it was reported on that there was some internal shuffling going on. That was by Kotaku a couple weeks ago. We had a huge in-depth discussion about that a couple episodes ago on PvA Radio if you want to hear all of my thoughts on that. So yeah, but it looks like Treyarch is taking over. What's up, HBizya? And welcome to the PvA Nightly Rundown, the nightly show where we go over all the gaming news for the last 24 hours so you don't look like a freaking idiot at the water cooler tomorrow. But we're nearing the end of it. We're wrapping up the show, and then we'll move into streaming a game. But so yeah, Treyarch's going to be taking it over. I think it's a weird decision. I think there were too many cooks in the kitchen on the Sledgehammer side of things, and they should have just had some more focus. And shortening the dev cycle for these games is only going to hurt that franchise in the long run, in my opinion. Only giving it to 2 studios and then expecting them to crank it out, especially when that's the only egg that's in their basket anymore, right? Like, yeah, they have some publishing deals on stuff. They publish Sekiro, but at the end of the day, like, Call of Duty is their sole IP that they're actively developing, because Destiny's walked as well. So now you're going to compress that dev cycle into 2 years for 2 teams, and it's just, I don't know. To me, it's just a pressure cooker that's bound to explode. You can throw that Mozambique in disgust now. I ping the Mozambique every time I find it, and it drives my friends crazy. I'm like, oh, guys, I found something sweet, but I don't want it. And then they don't believe me anymore. But if you hate the Mozambique, you can show it exactly how you feel about it by throwing it down. And then, let's see. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Pretty funny. Not what I do. The GIF. GIF? GIF? How do you guys say it? I'm also wrapping this up on the quicker side because I need to take a little bio break here in a moment. So, then last story on the list: Naughty Dog is shutting down the multiplayer servers for The Last of Us, Uncharted 2, and Uncharted 3 on the PS3. And I saw way more people writing and talking about this than I should have. Way more. So, all right, guys. That's going to do it for the PvA Nightly Rundown. We're going to say goodbye to our YouTube people. And thank you for tuning in over here on youtube.com/PVA Radio. New videos up every single weekday. You can hit the subscribe button to see all the new videos as soon as they drop. If you want to hang out with us live, that happens over on twitch.tv/PVA Radio every single weeknight at 9 o'clock. But until next time, we love you. Goodbye.